and it was so nice to meet you. So now we are so lucky to have our keynote speaker, Bernadine Desanges. She's a spoken word artist, workshop facilitator, speaker and coach, and change maker. And we are so lucky to have her here again. So welcome, Bernadine.
Thank you so much for having me. Good afternoon, ladies. Just wave. I know, right? It's just like, it's hard to do this virtually because I'm like, I want to hear your voices. I want to have you all get up and going and all of these amazing, great things. As stated, my name is Bernadine, also known as Bernadine Truth. It is an honor and a great pleasure to be able to speak with all of you this afternoon. Thank you so much for Girl Up Boston Coalition for the invitation to speak with all of you. While I am asked to deliver a keynote address, I'm going to do that, but I also want to make time to answer possibly any questions you all may have, or to really lead end our afternoon together with affirmations, which is something that I typically tend to do in all of the spaces that I occupy. So I'm the founder and CEO of my own consulting company and brand called Know Your Truth, Speak Your Truth, which is a platform really designed to support individuals to engage in conversations very much related to all of the topics you all mentioned, right? Talking about being environmentally conscious, racially conscious, social justice, racial justice. So many of you mentioned that the highlight of your week thus far was the inauguration and watching history verbatim, somebody said, happen right before your very eyes, to have the first woman ever elected as the vice president of our country and being at the White House. And this woman is also a woman of color. So not only is she the first woman, but she's the first Black woman. She's the first South Asian woman to assume such position and to be in such role. And so to hear that you are all inspired by that truly melts my heart. And it is not to downplay or to dismiss the age ranges, because I heard somebody as young as 12 years old be in this space, but it is to recognize the power and the strength you all possess in numbers, right? And recognizing that it is truly no difference what your age is. It's all about your heart and your ability to be conscious and your ability to be aware. And so I speak as a motivational speaker, but I also am a workshop facilitator. I'm an educator in the city of Boston. I oversee 29 of our Boston public schools, making sure that representation is in full effect, meaning that our students have teachers and school principals who look like them as much as possible. I'm also an evening law student. So if any of you are interested in law, please let me know. I attend Suffolk University in the evening while I work a full-time job. And I also am the consultant, like I said, of my own company. I say all that to say that I'm setting the precedent of the conversation that we are to have today, right? And so again, in delivering a keynote address, I'm here to inspire you all. But again, truth be told, you all inspire me, because you can all be anywhere this Sunday afternoon and you are all choosing to log on into this very space to be inspired by each other, to work alongside each other, to really be able to connect and build relationships that may hopefully last a very long time beyond this particular platform. As you all know, we are living in unprecedented times, a moment where we are surviving through a pandemic, something many of our relatives and yourselves have never seen before. I myself have never had to live through something like this, but yet we are still looking to make a change. We are still looking to impact our communities, and we are still looking to impact our nation. So the work that you all do is not only work that is focused here in the city of Boston or in the state of Massachusetts, but on a global initiative, right? And that is important for you all to understand just how far your work goes. Understanding the importance of Girl Up and recognizing that the significance of the work you all do is to provide a platform for girls who are not in a position to do so. For girls who are not in the position to do so. So that means that you are all consciously coming into this work, recognizing that you all have some level of privilege, some level of opportunity that many other girls do not have. An opportunity to wake up and to sleep in your room, whether it's your own room or a room that you share, in a home with your parents, both parents, single parents, maybe you're being raised by a relative, maybe you're being raised by somebody within the community. Whatever the cause, whatever the ability, though, you have the privilege and the ability to be in this space, to log on with internet access, to be able to have a choice of whether or not you want to show your face here or decide that you'd rather live in private and just soak in the information. I say all that to say that that is something that I want you all, that privilege is one that I want you all to wear with a badge of honor. And we're understanding that not everyone has the opportunity to do so, because right now there are 12-year-old girls in parts of the world who are dodging bombs, who are petrified that they might be kidnapped, who feel like they might be sold, who may not even know that they may be sold into sex trafficking, who want to voice their opinions in their families and in their homes, but are not able to be respected, are not able to be heard. There are girls around the world who are not able to go to school. There are girls around the world who are in the process of going through menstruation, their menstrual cycles, and don't have support to even take care of their natural bodily needs. There are girls who have no choice to wear their hair how they would like. There are girls living in this world who are told that they are beautiful because of what they look like, and they're told that they are not beautiful because of what they look like. Whether it's their skin tone, their hair type, their height, their body size. Yet you are all here and understanding all of that, and you all may be going through your own challenges with those experiences yourselves. But again, you are choosing to be here. You are choosing to acknowledge life for what life is for yourselves and for your communities. And that is powerful. And I thank you all because, like I said, while I'm here to inspire you all inspire me. Whether you are a native speaker of multiple languages or just one, whether you wear glasses or not, whether you go to a public school or a private school or a boarding school, you matter. And I need you all to remember that and to assume responsibility with all that you can do with that. So not only am I a motivational speaker, but I'm going to share a little bit about myself, but I am a survivor of sexual assault. I'm a first-generation Haitian American. Clearly, by what you can see, I am Black. I am a woman. I have braids in my hair today. When my braids are not in my hair, I have an Afro puff. I'm an unapologetic Black woman. I'm wearing a shirt right now that says, "Believe in a Black girl." But for you all, I want you all to believe in all girls. I grew up in a single family household. My parents were divorced when I was young. I grew up going to a charter school in the city of Boston. I grew up feeling very supported by my community, but also very silenced because I grew up in a family that taught me as a Haitian American that what happens in the family stays in the family. And what that also means is whatever challenges I'm facing in my family, it is my responsibility to keep it to myself and to not share that. How many of you have ever been told what happens in your family is meant to stay in the family and it's nobody else's business? Raise your hands. Some of you. And some of you have not. Right? And so that wore a lot of burdens for me because on the school level, my teachers were telling me, Bernadine, if you were ever sad or if you're ever hurt, it's your job to speak up. We're here to support you. But at home, I was taught that I wasn't able to do that. And I share that in this space because, again, those are some of the challenges, some of the adversities I had to encounter growing up. I grew up in a time where people didn't think I was pretty enough because of the color of my skin in some spaces. And in other spaces, the color of my skin was celebrated. At school, sometimes people did not want to befriend me because I was Black, because I was outspoken, because I was passionate about so much. And in that same breath, people gravitated towards me and wanted to be my friend because they said, Bernadine is an advocate. Bernadine is an activist. And we want to push her and we want to encourage her. Growing up, I had to learn the value and the purpose of my voice, how to utilize my voice in an effective and positive way to inspire individuals like yourselves, but most importantly, to inspire myself. How many of you, by a show of hands, have ever had to wake up one morning to either go to school or fulfill a chore or responsibility and did not want to do it? Right? A lot of you, a number of you did not want to do it. How many of you have ever felt uncomfortable because of the way you look in the presence of other people? Ever felt uncomfortable because of the way you look? Right? I see the hands. How many of you have ever felt uncomfortable because of the way you sound? Maybe how you speak, the tone of voice, or the choice of words you have? Anybody? See a couple of people, right? So that means we all have fears and we all have experienced insecurities before. But I'm here to let you all know that those insecurities, whether it's the way you sound, the way you look, the lack of energy you have to get up and fulfill your goals, you still matter and you are in fact somebody. When I was young and I was taken advantage of by a family member, I felt traumatized and hurt, isolated and alone. When people did not want to talk to me or respect me because of the color of my skin as a child and as an adult, it hurt my feelings and I wanted to give up. When folks didn't understand what I was trying to communicate because English was not my first language and I had to learn to speak English in school, I felt ashamed because I spoke more than one language. And now I recognize how beautiful that is. to be able to walk into various spaces and to be able to speak English, Haitian Creole, and now just a little bit of French. Powerful opportunities to be able to engage with a wide range of people. But the world will have you doubting yourself and make you feel like you're not good enough. I'm also a short person. I'm short and thick, right? And so while that is very beautiful to me, that can be very challenging for other people. Because when we look on social media, which is why we're here today, when we talk about social media, people want to see the thin, long-haired individual. But no, where are the curvy women? And that's something that I need to speak on for myself. Where are the women who are of various complexions? And so I had to learn too that the world that I see, while it may not look like me, I am still part of the world. I am still part of the equation. And so while you all might be able to turn on a television screen and you might not see people who look just like you or live a life just like you on the television screen, you are still part of this world. You are still part of society. And so my message to you all, as we focus on how media can be used to spark change in the world, I want to bring it back to all of you, because you are the change agents that I'm holding on to change the world. It is not about the posts you make. It is not about the number of likes you receive. It's not about you all going viral, but it's about your mind and your heart. You all said, a number of you said that, again, the inauguration this week is what sparked your interest and what was the highlight of your days. I want you all to think about, why was that the highlight of your day? Why was that the highlight of your week? And what are you going to do with that moment? With the fact that you all got to live to see history with your very eyes. Something that generations from now will read about is something you got to live through. What does that mean to you? When people challenge you and people say, when people don't want to talk to you, people don't want to befriend you, what does that mean to you? Are you going to shrink into a cocoon and are you going to hide in a corner? Are you going to recognize that that is that person's problem to not be friends with you and not to like you, but you love you. And because you love you, that is enough to persist and to get through. So again, when we talk about social media and how we post and how I'm able to use my platforms to spark change in the world, there's no magic formula to any of it, to be honest. I had to learn and look into my soul and look into myself and figure out who I am, what I love, and why I love it. And that is the lens in which I speak on. There are various topics in the world that you all would love to talk about, could talk about, whether that's women equality, gender equality, right? Being socially conscious, racially conscious, economically conscious, and recognizing that poverty is real. Mental health, as we talk about health disparities and sadness and depression and isolation. If we're going to talk about geographical differences and what happens in Asia versus what happens in Europe versus what happens in the East Coast and West Coast, and the world knows all the different regions that we live in. Right? So many topics, so many challenges in our world are important. They all deserve the time, but it's up to you to decide which of these topics are most important to you. It is not about what Kiara finds interesting versus Emma and Sophia and Mercedes and Camilla or Ceci or so. Like, no, it's not about what everybody else thinks that's going to dictate what you think. Julia or Mackenzie or Ellie. It's not about comparing yourselves to one another. It's about building together, for sure. But it's about identifying what's most important to you. And so a couple of tips that I'd like to leave you all with to really think about as you're all navigating the world of media and thinking about what change looks like are right here. So one, as I said earlier, I want you all to write it down if you have a pen and paper, and if you need a minute, go grab it. Because I truly want you all to be able to apply these messages and really live by them. Because again, you are all growing up in the day and age where social media is truly at your fingertips. Meaning that you can go on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and put on messages and play music and tag each other and follow each other, Snapchatting and all other places. Now, as you all continue to grow, your platforms will look like LinkedIn. Or maybe it'll just be via email. But either way, you all are individuals with your own personality. So I want you all to tap into that. By one, taking the time to understand what inspires you and why. Again, there are various topics in this world that you can all focus on. But again, What inspires you in this world and why? Why was the inauguration the highlight of your week? Was it about the young woman who was the poet? Was it to see Kamala be inaugurated and sworn in as the first VP? Was it because we got to see Biden come in as the president? Was it your ability to be at an age where you can see it and understand what is happening? What are your reasons why? Why do you care about the environment? Why do you care about race? Why do you care about gender equality? Why does it matter to you? Not the world, but to you. Because that's the lens I need you all to continue to speak on and learn from. Number 2, I need you all to learn more about your interests and the opposing views. So as women and as game changers and as girls changing this world one day at a time, one post at a time, one interaction at a time, I need you all to think about your interests, learn as much as you can about it, but also learn about the opposing views, the opposite perspective. Too often we just think about what we want and what we need to see, but we don't take the time to listen to other people. How many of you love being silenced and being told that your views are not important? You love it. Right? I need you all to love it. I didn't see that many hands of people who love to be told that their views are not important. That's a crappy feeling. But that also means that you all need to know what your opponents are going to say. You all need to be prepared. Everything about how you all live in today's time is not just for the moment, but it's for tomorrow. What is the opposing view and how prepared are you to tackle those challenges and those perspectives? And are you truly in a position to listen to other people, whether or not you agree with them, with respect? Because you are girls who are going to grow to be women who are going to continue to be powerhouses and game changers, which means you will walk into rooms where men will not want to hear you or other women will not want to hear you. But you know what? It is still your responsibility to speak up for yourselves and for your communities and for everybody else who is saying you are somebody and we need you. 3, I need you all to embody what you believe by words, actions, your posts, and your conversations. Be the essence of your being, girls. Be the essence of your being. The world will challenge you. Your families may challenge you. Your friends may challenge you. As you grow, you will change. You will not be the same person you are today at 12, 15, 16, 13 in 2 years, or maybe even next month. But how you all change and how you all lead the world needs to show in how you truly exist in it. So when we're talking about posting and social media, what kinds of captions are you putting on? How are you responding to followers? How are you responding to people who are actually engaged just as much as you are? Who are you following? Are you following people who are sharing positive messages? Are you following people whose ideologies align with yours? Are you following people who can challenge your ways of critically thinking? When you're having conversations with your friends, are you speaking up against injustice? Are you letting your friends know, hey, I love you, you're my best friend, but I don't agree with your approach? Or are you silent? And are you letting the world happen all around you without acknowledging the power you have to change history in the making? Now, for some of you are 12 and you're like, this might be a lot for you, but I'm coming for you because I believe in you. I do not believe you are too young to share your voice. I do not believe you are too young to be game changers. I do not believe you are too young to be one of value. And I do not believe you are too young to change your families, to change your schools, and to change your friendship circles. You are old enough because you're here. 4, I need you all to accept that you will forever change and evolve as powerful girls into powerful women. Powerful girls into powerful women. And you were powerful yesterday. And you were powerful before you ever interacted with me in this virtual space. And you're going to be way more powerful after me and after hanging out with all the other girls on this Zoom call. But you have a responsibility to yourselves and to each other to truly, again, be the best versions of yourselves. But know, again, that you will change because the world around you is going to change, because your lived experiences are going to change. You will go to college. You will get a job. You will stay employed. You will change jobs. You will change friends. You will become people who are involved in relationships. You will have challenging conversations with your parents. Your parents will not understand you all the time. Your friends will not understand you all the time. All of those experiences are what's going to make you who you are. All of those experiences have already made you who you are. Except that there are highs and lows in all of that. It's not always beautiful. Sometimes it is full of sadness. Sometimes you will feel alone even when you're surrounded by people. But growth is a sign of change. And if you are not changing, you are not growing. And if it's not a struggle, then it doesn't mean anything. And so embrace the struggle of the realities of the evolution of you. 5, ask for clarity and include those impacted or influenced by your vision within the creation of your execution. And what I mean by that is you all can change the world and have changed the world and will continue to do so, but ask for help. There is somebody older than you and somebody younger than you who can mentor you and who can guide you. For folks in this space, for example, who are white, who identify as Caucasian, you may want to work towards racial equality and racial equity. It is your responsibility to work on behalf of people who don't look like you by including people who look just like the group of folks you want to work for and want to support. Folks may identify as part of the LGBTQIA community, folks may not. If you're going to work on behalf of those who identify as part of the LGBTQIA community and you don't identify yourself, then you need to find people who identify as part of that community to include them in the conversation. If you're going to work on issues and challenges that are going on in the Middle East, encourage yourselves to educate yourselves, but also include folks with those perspectives and that knowledge base. Too many adults in today's time work on behalf of other people without including that population in the conversation. If you do not include the people you are helping in the conversation to understand what support looks like for them, then you are operating in a place of privilege through the lens of pity. And nobody needs support through pity. People need support through passion. People need support through compassion. And people need support through inclusion, which means that they are included and their perspectives are just as valuable as yours in what success and problem solving through action looks like. And lastly, because we're talking about media and media's influence and impact, we have to talk about the posts and the places of engagement. Recognize that your post will organically reflect the essence of your being if you are in fact true to it. And so I started off by first saying, take the time to understand what inspires you and why, and that connects to the last point with social media, because that's how you engage with people. If Kiara is posting, I don't need to read about what Sophia said. If it's Kiara's perspective, everything about how Kiara maneuvers and lives through this world is going to tell the world what Kiara believes. It's the same thing with you, Emma. It's the same thing with you, Sophia Mercedes. What you all believe, because it's embodied in everything that you all do, the world will see it naturally. And so when you're inspired by a picture, when you're inspired by a quote, that is your engagement. When you read something and it frustrates you and it gets you angry and it gets you riled up and you post about it, that is your true frustration with the world that is expressed and articulated. And that's what matters. I don't need you all to post a quote or a photo or you doing activities because you think it will get likes. That is not how we engage with social media for change. You engage with social media for change because it is the essence of your being that will naturally inspire people. So if 5 people like your post, understand and believe that those 5 people understand what you just said. And that's what matters when it comes to making change happen. And so to you girls who are going to continue to grow and be powerhouses and women as you all lead in the world globally, internationally, and domestically, I need you all to really believe and understand just how powerful you all are today. Behind me is a poster that says, "We can do it." Jesse the Riveter, right? But there's a Black woman in a headband, a bandana, and a shirt, because I needed a person to inspire me to look like me. You all may need somebody to inspire you all who looks like you, and you all may be inspired by people who do not look like you. My mentors, people who inspire me, do not all look like me. Some of them are also men. Some of them are white women, Asian women. They're not all Black women. But at the end of the day, what grounds us is the essence of our being and what we choose to believe in. And today, this afternoon, I choose to believe in every single one of you. And I choose to invest in every single one of you. And I'm hoping that you all choose to invest in yourselves first and in your community second, because the only way you can give the best of yourselves to the rest of the world is by being the best versions of yourselves to yourselves. And so with that, I invite all of you to unmute yourselves, all of you. And so I'm going to have you all do a quick activity with me as I close our afternoon together. And I think everyone is unmute. Can we all unmute ourselves? Connect, or host, can we unmute everyone? Awesome. And I want you all to repeat after me. Okay? It's going to sound crazy. It's going to sound a hot mess. And I love that this is being recorded. So hopefully I can get a copy of it. But this is why we're here, because it's a community. Okay? So the first statement, I'm going to say I am, and I want you all to say your names, your distinctive names. Okay? So I am.
Mercedes.
Okay, beautiful. I love it. And now from here on out, I want you all to repeat directly after me, okay? I am the change the world needs.
I am the change the world needs.
I need you all to say this with conviction, okay? The rest of these with conviction. I am strength.
I am strength.
I am courage.
I am courage.
I am a creator of safe space for all.
I am a creator of safe space for all.
I am an advocate for radical change.
I am an advocate for radical change.
I am revolutionary.
I am revolutionary.
I am light.
I am light.
I am love.
I am love.
I am girl.
I am girl.
Thank you all so much. Again, my name is Bernadine, also known as Bernadine Truth. It has been truly my honor and my great pleasure to really kickstart your day in this conversation and in this space, because again, I need you. I am nothing without you. I see you. I believe in you. I recognize that we are across the state of Massachusetts in a pandemic, but I need you all to never give up. I need you all to look at yourselves in the mirror every day and say, I love you to yourselves, even and especially on the days where you don't feel it and you don't like what you see, because the world needs you, like I said, and I need you. And I'm honored to have been able to share this space with you. So thank you all so much for being here.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Bernadine. So if anyone has any questions, people can start dropping them in the chat, and then if Bernadine can stay, she can respond to them. And then after that, we can start getting back to our presentation. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to put them to everyone or just to the host. And I can start off with a question. So Bernadine, for like your work in law, how are you using that to spark change and like giving voice to marginalized communities?
Ooh, that is an amazing question, Mercedes. Fabulous. So my work in law right now, I'm focusing on taking in all the information as I possibly can. So the legal world has a lot of policies, has a lot of procedures, and how we maneuver through the legal system, as far as, how we even present cases, how we support our clients, how we advocate for folks. And so when it comes to how I correlate that with the historically marginalized population, it's right now my responsibility is to gain as much information as I can on our policies and our procedures. And so that's really what I'm focused on as a student, right? And so my goal is to really understand the ins and outs of that, to support an employment law, and to really provide platforms and spaces for people of color to not only get jobs in various income brackets and tax brackets in life, but to be able to climb those ladders, right? So not to just be a coordinator of an organization, but maybe be the CEO or the vice president of the organization, helping people to understand the value of their economic stability, helping people who are in positions of power to recruit and retain people of color through a lens that is not always biased. That isn't saying you cannot do this job solely because you are Black, but can truly understand what it means to read the resumes of somebody of color who might have not had access to certain opportunities years ago, but is looking to change the world for themselves and for their communities today. And so it's through having those conversations through HR, which is human resources, also combining economics with money, and then really thinking about our employment infrastructures and systems and how we may discriminate against people who are looking to be employed, or maybe when they are in these jobs, right, are dealing with racism, and racism is harder to prove even though you can feel it. And so how can we make sure we create an understanding that maybe what you can't see, even though we might not be able to see it, the mere fact that one person can feel it is something that is credible enough for us to be able to have a conversation about. Any other questions? That was a great one.
I was wondering whether you had any advice for engaging in conversations with people who disagree with you, especially when they're about things like identity, like gender equality and racial justice. Just finding ways to meet them, but also, stand strong for like your principles and values.
Absolutely. Another fabulous question. Tips on how to maneuver through that. One is, I would say, ask more questions than make assumptions, right? So if somebody's sharing a perspective, I find it more powerful and impactful when a person can break down what they think and how they think with you. So somebody might say something derogatory like, women are lucky to be here. Like if it weren't for the fact that you were a woman, like I wouldn't have hired you, or something like that, then it's just like, why, like where does that come from? What makes you say that? Putting it back on the person, the accountability back on the person. And you're not saying with a level of aggression, you're truly inquiring, right? Like, well, what makes you say that? Where does that come from? And then they might give you a response, and it's just like, okay, has that always been something you thought, or was that something you were taught? Or did your parents teach you to think that way? Or, is that perspective coming from your previous place of employment? Or maybe, for all of you in high school and in middle school, the point of view is like, why would you say something like that? Or where's that coming from? Or when you say these things, do you think about how it might impact this person? Or how do you think this person might feel, or a member of this community might feel if they heard you say that? Right. And so by asking those types of questions, it's putting, again, the accountability and the onus on the other person to reflect. And in turn, hopefully, most times they're able to recognize that what they're saying might be full of ignorance, or might be prejudice, or might be biased on their own, right? Without you having to say, that's ignorant, that's prejudice, that's racist, right? Which is what we're trying to say. Like, that makes sense. Like, you're crazy. Like, why would you say that? But it's helping the person to do that themselves. The other thing I can say to you is, sometimes, depending on what your abilities are now, and what you all have access to given your age group and your communities, you can refer a book to somebody, you can refer a post to somebody, a social media post to somebody, where they can where you might not necessarily have to be the one to always educate, but you can lead them in the direction to learn. I think sometimes we feel like we want, and it's important, right? Like, you are all young, and you're like, we want to change the world. Everybody wants to change it, every single person and every single issue at a time. Part of what I want you all to continue to learn is that it's not your job to educate everyone all the time. And so sometimes the best way to really impact change is to ask that question, why would you say that? Or where does that come from? Or I'd like to learn more about your perspective on that one. And again, giving them the space, but then also recognizing when to walk away. Because sometimes an antagonizer is looking to do just that, antagonize you. and like really frustrate you to make you lose your cool and to make you no longer diplomatic, right? And so your job could also say, hey, it's not my responsibility to educate you on this. If you have time, I recommend reading this book. We can talk about it later, or talk to me in 2 weeks, or talk to me in 2 months, or maybe not talk to me at all, right? Or maybe refer them to a teacher, maybe refer them to a parent, maybe refer them to another individual who might be able to do this, to be in that space. Because again, the only way we can engage in these conversations in a healthy way is if we are in a position to truly engage. And so sometimes it might not be a conversation for you to be part of, any of you. It might be the conversation for somebody else to take lead, but that doesn't take away from your leadership. You are still a leader, right? We were talking about the inauguration of Kamala, and one of the quotes she has on leadership, which I want to share with you all, is she says, anyone who claims to be a leader must speak like a leader. That means speaking with integrity and truth, right? And so sometimes your truth might be, I don't have time for this conversation. Sometimes your truth might be, this is going a little bit further in a direction that I don't believe in, and this is not what I'm grounded in. So I can respect I will agree to disagree on this one, and that's okay. And you have to put your foot down and stand your ground and walk away and not feel guilty. Girls, I want you all to work on not feeling guilty. Oftentimes we feel bad about saying something. We feel bad about being passionate. We feel bad about having a voice. We feel bad about standing firm in our position, right? Consider yourselves a tree branch. A tree is firmly rooted in the ground, and it is not easy to just uproot the tree. Its branches may continue to linger, may continue to move and sway based on the wind. Sometimes the leaves fall. In the fall, all the leaves fall, right? Because again, growth and change is necessary. But again, that tree is firmly planted and deeply rooted. So I need you all to understand just how deeply rooted you all are in your causes, and just how much the branches and the trees and the leaves, need to change, need to move in time. But again, where you stand firm is where you stand firm, and never let anybody push you from there.
Thank you so much. That was so helpful.
Absolutely. Any other questions? These are great.
How do you balance, like you were talking a lot about being passionate in your advocacy. How do you balance that passion and being outspoken with the potential for alienating people who might not be so amenable to change?
Oh my goodness. First of all, I need all of you to come with me everywhere, because these questions are just amazing. Truly amazing. How do I navigate my passion? So earlier I used the word being diplomatic, and being diplomatic means that I have to really take into account what spaces I'm in, right? So am I speaking to somebody who is in a position to hear me? Am I speaking to somebody who may potentially be able to fire me? Am I speaking to somebody who's going to hire me? Am I speaking to family? Am I speaking to friends? So having a full understanding of who my audience is, who am I engaging with, who my client is really important. And so when we're talking about that passion versus that isolation, I want you to also think about, who are you protecting? Are you protecting those who are oppressors and those who are violators of justice for somebody? Or are you protecting those who are victims and who need the support? Now, if you are in a position where you find that you are more concerned about the oppressor or the person who is causing a lot of damage and a lot of hurt, I need you all to take the time to reflect on why that is. Because that might also mean that deep down, you know that what is going on is not okay, but you're in a hostile environment. You might be in a position where maybe the teacher is going to give you this grade, or this person may not be your friend anymore, or might cause people to not be your friend either, or you might not be able to get the ride to that event or be on that team or be able to go to that debate. But again, if you're always on the side of equality and equity, meaning access for meeting everybody where they are and providing them with the same access, or not the same access, but an opportunity to have the same level of access to something with equity, if you are on the side of change and being a radical revolutionary that way, then even though you might feel like you may be isolating yourself, you are isolating, you're taking that stance because of the greater good of everybody else behind you who doesn't have that position, right? And if somebody is oppressing you, and if somebody's looking to silence you, and if somebody's saying that you are not important, it is because they are fearful of their position. They are scared. They may be coming from a place where your perspective is challenging them to either change their thinking in a way they're not ready, or may cause them to no longer be in their position of power, which is really important to them. And so then you have a choice. Do you stay in that space or do you walk away from that space? And I encourage all of you to really dig deep all the time as you continue to grow and as you continue to mature and have various experiences in life, to always come back to what grounds you. Because you choosing to leave a job may be what you have to do for the cause that you are fighting for. And that might go to schools too, and clubs and organizations, right? So again, that's why I'll take it back to what I said. The very first point is take the time to understand what inspires you and why. Because what you are grounded in is what's going to get you through points of isolation where you are either isolated or you're feeling isolated by somebody else, where your passion is truly keeping you going, but the rest of the world may not care. And that's why I said too, it's not about how many likes your post gets or your interactions and your place of engagement. It's about you staying true to who you are. I don't care if you post something and it's up for 5 hours and nobody liked it. If that's your honest view, post it. Anybody else? Phenomenal questions.
I just want to ask, because you said we all inspire you, but I think we all have like one person who's like our biggest like inspiration, or like we always like talk about our girl heroes. So I was wondering who that is for you, or like maybe what person inspired you to do what you're doing now.
I love it. Thank you so much. That's a phenomenal question. So my girl heroes have actually evolved based on the times. And I can't even say I just have one. But I would say, honestly, my mom, because she's been resilient and persistent, I think she's the first woman that I, had access to really be able to understand. And she and I were not always close. We were not always friends. We were not always friendly. Some of you might be going through that with your moms right now. If you have them in your life, like, it's real. It happens. But I would say her. I grew up reading Maya Angelou, and I loved her, and I loved what she wrote about. I loved the way she was able to express herself through poetry. As I've continued to age, I thought Michelle Obama was phenomenal. I think she was a very classy first lady, and I think that she was able to be very true to who she was as an independent woman, but also wore various hats as a wife, as a mother, as a lawyer, as the first lady, as a friend, as a daughter. And I think about the identities that I carry as a woman, and I think about, how she persists through that. And so that's inspiring to me. Yara Shahidi, who's a young girl from Blackish and Brownish. I think that looking at her as a younger girl, being able to be unapologetically herself and understanding that she has relatives from Iran and Africa and white and all of that, and she's able to embody all of that with grace, and still be herself and still go to college, I think is inspiring within itself. I think that, right now with the VP, she's inspiring. Stacey Abrams and the game changes she was able to make for Georgia in voting for the entire state, which changed the game politically. She's inspiring, right? And so basically the shorter side of what I'm trying to get at is the world truly inspires me. And I think different people in different stages of my life yield themselves to me based on their lived experiences, to show me that they are in fact alive and well, like Harriet Tubman, Rosa Parks from back in the day, right? Like they are, I am my ancestors' wildest dreams. And so taking the time to understand that was very important. My grandmother inspires me because she currently has dementia, but she's still holding on, and she still gives hugs, and she still is giving her love, right? And so it truly ranges. I think that who inspires me is based on where I am in my life and what I'm looking to do. So thank you so much for that.